Alright, hello everyone, this is Invasion Animation, and welcome back to another drawing video. I am doing this today because the internet is completely out right now, but hey, this is fine. So right now I am doing another take on the dwarves that I have done already, and I had like another idea for it, so I'm doing that now. Basically, the idea is mushroom dwarves. I feel like that's an idea that should have been done already, but when I looked it up, apparently I couldn't find anything, but I still think it had to have been done. Anyways, these are mushroom people, mushroom men, if you will. And these guys, they basically live in a cave and they are living mushrooms. Well, all mushrooms are living, but these guys are capable of movement. As you can see, this one here has its own little form. This is an old one because the way that these guys work is usually they usually infect an animal, usually a nice dumb one because they are way easier to control. And and they infect them and basically take over their bodies and basically puppet them around. Eventually, that animal dies, and they still continue to puppet around the carcass on their own, but we'll get into that later. As you can see right now, I am drawing some of their mushroom stalks, or mushroom heads. Mushroom caps is the correct word for it. But, yeah, they can't really see out of it, but they do have the ability to control with it. So this way they can use it for like long-range communications with other with other Mysomites. I don't know what I want to call these. I think dwarves is just fine. Like, what do you think? Comment down below and let me know. But so yeah, when it comes to these fellas right here, I think I'm gonna just call them that or something. Right. Well, anyways, where was I? Oh yeah, these By the way, I'm doing this like right off the cuff. Just edit in like the footage in the background to go a teeny bit faster, but I'm not gonna edit my words whatsoever. So it's kind of like a live stream, basically. I'm gonna see if it does okay. I'm gonna do the two separate ones in a different way. I might post this one. I didn't post any of them yet, but I might post this one first, even though I like it better, since I did draw some of the other one on a live stream, if I remember correctly. And let's see. Oh yeah, sorry. Alright, so these guys, they use tools. They basically use the tools around them to hunt, do all kinds of other stuff, and have their own little dwarven civilization. They are obsessed with metal, even though they are mushrooms, so they don't really have much use for metal. But it does, like, they just like the look of it. They like decorating with it, doing all kinds of fancy little arts and crafts with the metal they find. So, yeah, that's basically what they love to do. These mushroom stalks, oh yeah, I finally remember. These mushroom stalks, they are bioluminescent. Now, I'm not certain, actually, I am certain that mushrooms count as bioluminescent since they are technically alive. But, anyways, these guys have that. They usually use it to attract more animals to come near them so that they can have more bodies to pilot around. It's only the really old mushrooms that can just walk around on their own. The most that the younger mushrooms can do is just tilt their caps towards something. Alright, I am back. Anyways, let's see. Yeah, so I started drawing this rat head, but then in my head canon, I was gonna say that these guys cannot infect mammals because the body temperature is too darn high for them. So I was gonna have them only infect like insects or maybe even lizards. Perhaps the odd amphibian that somehow gets into the cave system, but I started drawing a mouse. So I decided that I remembered that, and that I decided to just rectify that situation and change it up. So what I did was I just basically switched it, copied the head over, and just, excuse me, yeah, may make this play a bit faster than expected. I was gonna hopefully aim to talk for 20 minutes, but nearly out of time, so it is what it is. But let's see. So yeah, I basically reshaped the rat head to be a lizard head. I was originally gonna make the circle at the side of the eye one of the lizard's ears, because sometimes they have like these bumps around them that technically work as an ear, but it is not the case for this one. And I decided to just change it out, just change it. So I went ahead and started making the malformed back. The idea of it was basically to have a whole buttload of mushrooms, guess pun intended, since it's coming out of its butt in a way. But a whole buttload of mushrooms just sprouting out of it, basically like the cordyceps mushrooms. In case y'all don't know, the cordyceps are an actual type of mushroom. And Dane, I just had a thought. What if the headphones glitch again and I just start having this robot voice coming along as I'm talking and doing this? I'm just gonna leave it in there. But yeah, that would be unfortunate. Anyways, I drew like a whole. No, I didn't. Well, I drew. Drew is the correct word. I drew a whole bunch of mushrooms coming out of this lizard's back, and I think I did a pretty decent job with the head, like just changing it out, and I think it worked out pretty well. Alright, so now I'm doing the tail. It's probably not going to be lined up to exactly what I'm saying, because I did have it continue going as I was talking, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. But yeah. So I think, so I decided that these mushroom people were basically going to use the bodies as carcasses as a form to manipulate the world around them way faster than it would be to just wait for their mushroom bodies to harden enough for them to be able to move on their own, let alone have digits. So like many mushrooms of this kingdom, they all look very different. So what they do is they just infect the host animal, usually through spores, but sometimes they usually just but most of the time they usually just have another one puts a stalk in them. That would give that specific stalk like more control, and then they would have their own little hive mind going into it. Basically, the one stalk is kind of like a brain, but like multiple stalks are needed to like move multiple parts of the body, so they all work together. Somewhat of a hive mind, but not entirely. Think of it like with humanity. Like, in a way, humans are a super organism, like in a collective, but we're just pretty good on our own too. With these guys, the stock and stuff, and the caps, they all need to stick together. They're not as good and efficient as a human on their own, but they can still manage if they are old enough. But they usually form together to hopefully influence all kinds of other animals and stuff. The smaller the animal is, the easier it is to control, so it is easier for them to take control of insects and whatnot. where those smaller animals are like more like I just want to say intelligent because a lot of them can work together. They just bicker more often about what they need to do, but they do work together and form a nice unit. So, so it is like a conundrum. So, like the insect ones, they usually have like dung beetles, smaller animals like that, and they basically control them, put in all kinds of stocks and stuff in them. Usually, when they're eaten by the animal, as long as the stock isn't ripped apart too badly, they can automatically infect them. All kinds of mycelium and roots grows within the organism, controlling every single bit of flesh and stuff within it. And then they start basically using the organism to puppet around their stuff. Now, that isn't the only use for the organism, because, like, for the most part, these mushrooms are benevolent. In spite of me saying this, if the organism that they're after is smart, like a rat or a human, they usually don't go after them and have a nice, curious little response. So, I am currently coloring this second dwarven creature, coupling a lizard. But yeah. So, anyways, they basically carry around these guys, do all kinds of things to build up the civilization. They even like having their own like solitary units. They have these houses, communal buildings, what have you. Sometimes they even capture uninfected animals alive and store them inside of like a little jail sort of thing in order to use them later when the first when the first prey completely disintegrates. Right, so like over time the first prey disintegrates and then they basically just fall off and basically become part of the ground, like a more collective area. So what these guys do is they, instead of having, as you can see from the first guy, he does not have a mouth because these mushrooms actually eat from the floor. They automatically connect to any mycelium that's spread across the ground or floor or walls of whatever place they have. Then they and then whatever like is killed and dropped onto that mycelium is evenly distributed towards the nearest shroom people, the nearest dwarves, and all kinds of stuff, so that they can then eat from the floor. Now, it's not necessary for the ones that currently have a body because they are currently feasting from said body. That's why they take on a slightly reddish hue closer to their host form, because they are still like sucking a whole bunch of the host's blood and using that to basically grow and propagate. These guys need a constant source of new bodies. However, unfortunately for them, since they evolved in a cave, they cannot go out in the sunlight. And believe me, they have tried. They have tried to spread desperately, but anytime one of them is in the sun for a minute or so, they just completely get cooked, and any bit of sentience that the mushroom had disappears. Now I know what you're thinking. They can use the carcasses to pilot and go outside. Now that would be the idea, but it just simply doesn't work that way. They would need to stay completely in the shadows because light hurts them for the most part. like bright lights do. Right, so right now I'm making the scales for the lizard. Right, so here we are. Yeah, so bright lights hurt these mushroom dwarves, and these bright lights, they basically kill them. It's basically like burning them alive with a blowtorch. So that's why they don't really spread. Sometimes it happens if they have like a hitchhiker help them, but for the most part, it is not the case, and they will just have to wait there and keep on hoping for more entities to join up with them. Now they get along just fine with each other because when they fall off of the host body, they just grow and become part of the flora of the localized area. They alert any entities passing by, basically growing and taking root within whichever spot the carcass just collapses and disintegrates fully in. Sometimes the carcass rips in half and they have to use some of the mycelium within themselves to hold it together. Now they do that to basically keep the carcass as preserved as possible. And that's basically just how they work, how they move about in this world. I added a whole bunch of cuts to the lizard because with these animals, like, they can't just attach it to them, otherwise it wouldn't do anything. They they actively make spears so that they can just go and stab whatever like non-intelligent creature, like lizards, bugs. There's a cave, so there might be the odd fish in there or two. But I digress. So they basically go and do that. I wonder how a fish one would look. I might have to draw that and see. But like leave that in the comments if you want me to draw like a dwarven fish where one of them is basically a fish. Take over the body of a fish. Maybe they live on land, or they could live in the ocean. I don't know. I can't recall. I know mushrooms need like damp places, but I don't think they like flooded places. So I don't know if that would work out very well for them. But in the cave, the humidity of the cave should be pretty fine since in my head they're basically near a river most of the time. Like wherever like life grows, they will then come and fester. Right, so I finished coloring in the lizard for the most part. I added in a bunch of details, including the eye. I decided to make the shine in the eye the same colors because it's in a cave where there's little to no light, and then later on I actually decided to change it to a nice firm blue. But yeah, these mushrooms, they continue sprouting caps and stuff to continuously grow onto their host because the smarter the actual like sentient ones, they grow on the host, and then when they fall down they're still smart. However, like if the spores release off of one of them and it doesn't have anything to like grow on, they usually stay kind of dumb. These ones are basically relatively safe to eat. They still carry a strain of the dangerousness, but they are relatively safe to eat. I just wouldn't risk it though. Would you risk eating a dangerous mushroom if it had a chance to like basically turn you into a zombie? Like it looks like it would probably taste good, but I doubt it would be worth it though. I don't know. Alright, so as you can see, I'm adding in like a nice little gradient to it's circular, and then I added in some of the a tiny little bit of glow to the veins. Then I'm gonna add a slight blur to it to like make it a little bit more glowy. Because like it does look great like that as is, but I think a slight blur to it would pull the whole tint together just a little bit more. But yeah, I also made some of the stalks glow just a teeny tiny bit, but not much. But yeah, it's pretty neat. I was actually for the mouse, when I was going to do the mouse, I had the idea in my head that I was going to just do like the top half of the mouse and the bottom half is just like mushroom tentacles just bursting out of it. And then maybe it's still holding on to some of its legs or feet or something. But yeah, that was just like an idea that I had for it before I remembered, hey, these guys are just gonna be attack cold-blooded creatures. So yeah, scrapped it basically. So yeah, seeing this has been quite a feat, I must say. Now I need to like listen back and see like where I accidentally like stopped so that I can get it back to a proper moment. Even though I haven't really been narrating each event exactly, excuse me. I don't know how well this would work, but hopefully you like it. It's a nice little new tune. I have an idea for a different new tune that I might try if I have enough time. I doubt it though, but I may do so. I might. But yeah, we are nearing the end of this video. So I'm going to just say it now. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Be sure to press that like button because the likes are very much needed. It would be awesome if you did. Share this with your friends. I don't know if hype works here, but be sure to hype it. Subscribe for more of these videos. And until next time, this is Invasion Animation signing out of here. Bye bye.